This is project 3, video number 3, the one in which we do the documentation and finishing touches. I think the first point I want to address is whether or not this function is self-documenting, whether or not people can see what's going on. Once I give the description of the function, I think this t0 is 0. What's going on here is pretty obvious. Same thing with the acceleration and the conditions at time t1. Down here, I think it would make it more self-documenting, so I don't have to put in comments explaining what's going on. If I used, instead of from 0 to 5 seconds, if I use from t0 to t1, t0 is 0 seconds and t1 is 5 seconds, but I think it'll make it more obvious, for instance, why I call this t0 1. So I'll put that t0, t1, and then this is t1 to time t2, and this is t2 to t3. That actually makes it so that t0 and t3 are used. I think that's the only place they get used. So then I think it's pretty clear what's going on. I set conditions at time 0, at time t1, well, time t0, time t1, t2, then in between, so from 0 to 1. So I like the way I've indented that there. That kind of makes it obvious that we're talking about the acceleration from time 0 to time t1, from t0 to t1, and then a12 from t1 to t2. So likewise for a23. So I think it's pretty self-documenting up to there, and then yeah. So if I had, if I chose worse names, then I'd have to write some explanation as to what's going on, but I think everything's pretty obvious based on the names. So let's get let's get the plot cleaned up. So that baby needs a title, and then let's see what I should call it. Position versus time. And then title the x-axis. I'm going to go with a capital T for the title. Time in seconds with the seconds in square brackets. Put the units in square brackets, not parentheses. And then Y label. Position in meters. And with all those changes, particularly the ones in here, let's see if it still works. So got position versus time. It does look like it's working, but position versus time, position in meters versus time in seconds. Okay, that's exactly what it was supposed to be. And looks good. Then you have to write what the function does. Alright, then so whom it's by, make sure you have your name in it. That's required. In fact, let's see. We'll go down the checklist here. Takes no arguments. Creates a graph of position versus time. Got that. Case of the car in problem 4 of test 2. I think I got that covered. Make sure you give a full description of the motion of the car. So I didn't do that, but I told you you have to do that in that comment that comes right after the function statement. And then that business of concatenating the arrays to form a bigger array. Then for the pencil and paper part, I need a complete algebraic solution. I got that. I got an outline of the steps, so I essentially wrote the program in pseudocode. That's referred to pseudocode, where you're not careful about meeting MATLAB requirements when you write it up. And then 1 point for a reasonable attempt. Certainly I've done that. 1 for a program that works properly. I think it does that already. Guess I should check the command window. Yeah, it didn't print anything to the command window. 1 point. Documentation and final touches. You gotta have your name in it. Cool, got that. Comment saying what it does. List of arguments. Okay, I haven't done that yet. I don't have my full name in there yet. Okay. I go input variables. None. Output variables. Percent. Tab. None. Let's see what else we got here. I'm going to save that. And attribution. State. From where / from whom. For what? What did you need the help for? To do what? So hopefully you didn't really use the videos. You used it as a check, and you found out you had already done everything right, in which case you don't have to add attribution there, but you might say use the tip on concatenating arrays provided in the handout, and maybe that's all you used. Maybe you had to look something up. Perhaps you were able to write it all up, but you forgot that dot, that element by element basis, so you wrote it up and it didn't work, and you got an error message, and you got unstuck by looking at the video, that kind of thing. So don't just say I used video 1 to do the pencil and paper, I use video 2 to do the code, and I use video 3 to do the documentation and final touches. Hopefully you've really tried to do it on your own, and you can in here you're telling me what you got stuck on and what you use to help you get unstuck. So at this point you should definitely be doing these on your own. Alright, I actually think I might have everything there. I'll save it, make sure it runs and still works properly. It looks like it does. And then go back to my checklist. Comment stating what the function does. Another set of comments providing a list of the arguments of the function. That's the input variables. When it has none, it returns no values. So I've stated that fact. Oops, gotta get down here where you can see it. The function does return no values. I guess I told you that in the handout. And then state that fact in your okay. For the case of a function that includes segments that are not self-explanatory, I think I had them with those linspace statements, but I made them self-explanatory by saying it runs from T0 to T1, T1 to T2, etc. So I believe that the code is self-documenting. That is, I've chosen variable names and position things in a way that is pretty obvious what's going on at every step of the way to somebody that knows some physics and some MATLAB. So attribution. For any case in which your function produces one or more graphs, graphs must be titled, X is titled, in square brackets. I do even specify it there. You have to have it in square brackets. The units, make sure you put the units in square brackets. Tick marks and labeled values come automatically. So we'd call this one a wrap. Obviously you have to write other stuff here and here, but that does it for oh, by the way, make sure that your .m file is your function name .m. So my function name is plotxt, my .m file is plotxt.m. So that works perfectly. Okay. That does it for project 3, video number 3.